The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the field.
Why should I vote? No one takes note, is what we hear some people say, while lying, divisive, insensitive, misogynistic, manipulative, hate-filled, evil politicians go on their merry way. They show they don't care. Behaviors we should not continue to accept, actions too shameful to bear. The slaughters, the bombs. This is our reality. This is not fake. How much more will we choose to take? Why should I vote? It won't change a thing. Change is what your vote must bring. Why should we vote? People died for the right. They fought by day and night. Death would not have been the case had it been for the right of a different race. If our vote did not matter, if right was not right, why was there such a fight to prevent it? Why was there such heartache, misery, and pain? Who is to benefit? Who is to gain? Let's be clear. Your vote is exactly what they fear. We can change the trajectory of what is happening today, getting the attitudes and behaviors we don't need or want out of office and out of the way of justice, liberty, and freedom for all. Without your vote, we are all about to fall. Refusing to vote, you really have no say. Willing or not, accept come what may. The hate and lies will continue. Maligning our governmental systems and free press will have no end. Disenfranchisement and voter suppression will win. The attacks will persist, possibly escalate on our children, women, the old, sick, and many of our men. Why should you vote? Please take note. Your vote matters more than you know. It's the only way to show those in power we will not take their corruption and evil anymore. It is our way to speak truth to power. Speak truth to power. Speak truth to power. Now is the time. This is the hour.
Hello, hello, hello. This is one of the most important shows that I could ever have, especially now when our democracy is at stake. I am so honored to have the National Federation of Women, Democratic Women, here today representing, and they're going to be sharing with us why you should vote. I'm going to pull up my first guest. She is the president of the National Federation of Democratic Women, Mrs. Gail Buckner. Mrs. Gail Buckner, how are you today? Unmute yourself.
It gets me every time. I am great, and I can tell you are too. And it is an honor and a privilege for me to be with you this evening.
Well, I am just honored and privileged to have you here. And now we're going to share with our audience a little bit about you. And so let me pull up this. Okay. I have it up here. I just got to open it up so that I can share. Okay. Gail Buckner is the newly elected, and congratulations on your election, the newly elected president of the National Federation of Democratic Women. She was previously serving as third vice president of NFDW, and she has served as NFDW legislative chair for 6 years. Gail Buckner is currently co-chair of 38 Agree for Georgia, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to adding the ERA to the U.S. Constitution. Ms. Buckner has served 2 terms as president of the Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. During her service as GFDW president, the True Blue Award and the Banquet Award were added to the Federation. Prior to accepting the position as president, Mrs. Buckner served 16 years in the Georgia House of Representatives and 1 term in the Georgia Senate. She was the Democratic Party of Georgia's nominee for Secretary of State in 2006. Among her accomplishments while serving in the General Assembly, Mrs. Buckner passed legislation that created the Georgia Voluntary Income Tax Checkoff for cancer prevention and research. Georgians have now donated more than $4 million to this fund. Georgia is a national leader in biotechnology, and she believes that we will find a cure for cancer in the near future. Other legislative authored by Mrs. Buckner includes child endangerment by DUI and the creation of school counselors. She also has, as a part of the Georgia chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, the University of Georgia College of Family and Consumer Science and Technology Education Association of Georgia, and the Georgia Association of Public Health Professionals are among those that have honored Mrs. Buckner. Her and her husband are parents of 3 children and 7 grandchildren, and they live in Richmond Hill, Georgia. Well, I am just honored that you are here. And right now, I am going to give you the floor to just kind of share your passion and talk about your journey as it relates to all these things that's going on here in our country, and just share with us. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, forgive me because I cannot pass up the opportunity of using that famous line. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. These are perilous days in our country. There are times when I just sit back and think to myself, what has happened to our country? And we must step up, take notice, and continue to work hard every day to protect the democracy that we enjoy in this country. Because, as you said previously, yes, people have died for the right to vote. And there was a time when only white men who owned property could vote. And then we, passed an amendment to the Constitution, and we allowed Black men to become voters. It took a special amendment, the 19th Amendment, to give women the right to vote. So it's been a long, hard fought process. And those women who we are standing on their shoulders. Absolutely. They worked so hard to gain the right to vote. Uh, they were beaten. They were put in prison. They were force fed. They were mocked. Uh, and so, how it's just hard to believe that any person who enjoys the freedoms that we do have in this country would not take advantage of that opportunity to go out and vote. And nowadays we have early voting. So you have that long stretch of time that you can get out there to vote. I voted this past Saturday. Now, I could vote any day during early voting that I choose. And I purposely choose to vote on Saturdays because I think a lot of people don't realize that you can vote on Saturday. In some places, you can also vote on Sunday. And there are working people who simply cannot go take the time off to go vote on that Tuesday, election day. So I promote that I'm going to vote on Saturday and encourage other people to as well.
Well, I thank you for sharing. And we're going to talk more about what you have just said. Let me pull up our second guest, Dr. Corrine Williams Anderson. How are you today?
I'm well by the grace of the Lord. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. I am just so honored to have all of you women here. And the fact that it's women, women, that's so awesome. So let me share about Dr. Corrine Anderson. Dr. Corrine Anderson, she is a Wazoo City, Mississippi native and is married to Henry Hank Anderson. She has 5 children, 1 stepson, and 9 grandchildren, and 6 great grandchildren. Dr. Anderson, Dr. Anderson has been involved in education her entire life. She taught grades kindergarten through graduate school in the states of Mississippi, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and internationally as a senior technical advisor with the Liberia Teacher Training Program. She has also served as an educational consultant to the countries of Ghana and Namibia. Did I pronounce that right? Namibia.
Namibia.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Dr. Anderson was the first person to receive a doctorate in early childhood education at Jackson State University. She served as an assistant professor, dean of the education department, and provost and vice president of student affairs at Tougaloo College. She has served in many positions as a community leader and activist. She is a co-founder and co-coordinator for STAND, which stands for Sisters Taking Action and Nurturing Decision Makers. She served as president of several groups, including the National Federation of Democratic Women, National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Central Mississippi Chapter, and the American Association of University Women's Mississippi Jackson Branch. She is a past president of the Catholic Diocese School Board of Jackson and currently serves on the Holy Family Catholic Church Liturgy Committee and Holy Family Pastoral Council. She is the founder of a nonprofit food pantry at Holy Family Catholic Church, which distributes food to senior citizens and other families in the Jackson, Mississippi community. She has served in many positions as a community leader and activist. And as I said before, she is the co-founder and co-coordinator of STAND. She served as president of several groups, including, okay, now I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. And I am going to give you the floor and give you an opportunity to share with our audience your passion and how you're feeling about what's going on in our country today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. As our president, Gail Buckner, said, I truly believe that the rights that our ancestors fought, bled, and died to gain are under attack. More than that, I am a gestaltist or a connectionist, if you will. In order for the world to make sense to me, things must connect. And subsequently or consequently, where we are now is where we were then. We can look back at different decades in our growing democracy and see where we were standing together as a united front, even though we had our separate thoughts on how it should be done. Now I'm suffering and sad about the fact that the United States of America are beginning to look like the disunited states, or the ununited, if you will, coin a word. I am desperately trying to put in my mind how we can continue to educate not just our young people, but those who may have forgotten that we have not overcome as a nation, not alone as a people in terms of the Black community. And so women have always been, if you go back in history, when all of the changes came and when changes came about in this country, there were always women at the surface, women pushing, women pulling, women praying, women pleading to make sure that this country stands united. Part of that has to be, we've got to make sure we're all saying the same thing. You can sing a song in your own tune, but we need to be sending the same message. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I said that for 4/5 of a century and was taught to believe in it. Now we have to fight for it and make sure that message is clear. That's where my heart is, that's where my passion is, and that's what I am sending out to everyone who will give an ear.
And I'm feeling it. I'm yes, I am feeling it because one nation under God, indivisible, with justice and freedom for all. And we have not gotten it yet. And so let me pull up my next guest, Miss Renee Green. Hello, Mrs. Green. How are you? Unmute yourself.
I am unmuted. Thank you very much. How is everyone else?
Oh, we're great. I'm just so honored that you're here. And Renee and I go back many, many years. And it's because of her that you guys are here. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that. I just love you with all my heart.
But don't you see how God puts people in your path?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And who would have thought that I would be doing this when we first met? But let me share Renee's bio right quick. Now, she has been an educator for over 30 years. She has been a teacher, a community liaison, dean of students, and computer lab instructor. She is an ESEA Title I math teacher, or was an ESEA Title I math teacher. She was Akron City Council member from 1997 until 2009, 12 years as Ward 4 councilwoman. She was the first woman to conduct a council meeting in Akron, Ohio. And she was the first female vice president. For 49 years, she's been a member of St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church, and her community service includes former board members for County of Summit Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Board, and past president. She was a former member and vice president of Legacy 3 Incorporated, former member and president of the Women's Auxiliary Frontiers International, and she was a member of the Akron Planning Commission current chairwoman. She was a member of Bondage Breakers Incorporated and also Metro Transit, past president of the Federated Democratic Women of Summit County, co-chair of Judge Harold K. Stubbs Memorial Scholarship Committee, State of Ohio PTA Silver Acorn Lifetime member, initiated into Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and Phi Delta Kappa Sorority. She has received several awards, including the Greater West Side Council Community Service Award, the Hartford Avenue Greenwood Avenue Community Service Award, the Akron African American Festival Community Service Award, the Rankin School of Technology Community Service Award, the State of Ohio PTA Lifetime Silver Acorn Award, the Jack and Jill Mother of the Year Award, the Humanitarian Award by Judge Harold Stubbs, and Mothers on a Mission, Dr. Martin Luther King Legacy Award, Legacy 3 Community Service Award, Candy Cane Christian Daycare Center Perfect Parent Award, and Bondage Breakers Community Service Award, and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Emerging Leadership Award. Well, I am just elated to have you here, and I am going to give you the floor and have you share your passion and your purpose and what's going on, in your opinion, with what's going on with our country.
You know what? The thing that really bothers me is that people don't understand, if you don't know your past, you will repeat it. If you look through the history of this country, the same kinds of things that happened, that are happening now, happened then, except they didn't have the technology and the wherewithal to share the killing, the mass killings, the burial of all kinds of people, not just African Americans, but the Indians and others that were imported or came to this country as immigrants. And when we talk about democracy, I find the word mock in the middle of that. Even though the spelling is different, we today are making a mockery of what our country is supposed to stand for and what it has stood for. When it comes to voting, I think about in school, we talk about who's going to be the person to wash the boards and who's going to do certain jobs. And the kids always raise their hand to vote for people. Even today, when kids are going to the prom and they're considered homecoming queen or king, they are voted upon. And there's no reason why, as adults or 18 and older people, cannot just put in their heads that voting is a part of our life, just like breathing, going to bingo, playing a lottery or whatever. Voting is an essential, it's a responsibility that we have as American citizens. And the way things are going today with voter suppression is making a mockery of the democracy that we're supposed to have. There are a number of books out that we have read or talked about the violence of our American past. And if you just pick up a book and read it, you will find out that this kind of suppression has been going on for a long time. They're just finding different ways to do that. Mrs. Buckner was talking about voting on Saturday. Well, in our state, our Secretary of State has gone along with his party and has reduced the number of days that we can vote. It used to be we could vote every Saturday through the month or every Sunday. When we started the Souls to the Polls, well, no, you're not, because now we only have 2 Sundays to vote right before election and only 2 or 3 Saturdays. So they find all kinds of, even though we try harder, they're trying harder. When we sleep, they're awake, working their strategy. But we have to be smarter, Women are getting together, and I so appreciate those two that came before me because they have led the way in their territory. And I've told Dr. Anderson before, I am so proud of Congressman Benny Thompson. I am so proud of what he's doing with it, with all that he's doing. And Representative Jim Clyburn is, I guess, my hero, because one of the things that he says that in our elections, whether we're gerrymandering or what we're doing, they are trying to build bleached communities. So when they go to do their job in Congress or in the state legislators, they're only representing their people, their culture, and they don't understand the needs of our people and our cultures. So we have to work very hard. In Ohio, the state Supreme Court has turned down the plans from legislators for gerrymandering because they're trying to get rid of those bleached communities. We have, in so many ways, been discounted, and we have to stand up in every way that we can, whether women, Black, white, or whatever. We have to stand together to take away the mock in democracy.
Amen, amen, amen.
Yes.
And you know, ladies, we have, I mean, the things that you talked about, the voter suppression and all of the laws and the legislations that have just recently come out in how many countries, how many states?
Yeah.
How many states? Do you guys remember how many
I think
states?
it's 39 states have passed hundreds of voter suppression bills.
Mhm.
39 out of 51 states. 39. And again, like I said in that poem, if our vote didn't matter, if right wasn't right, why is there such a fight to prevent it? Why? And the sad thing is, so many of those that are voting now or that are running, they were a part of the insurrection. So many of them were a part of the insurrection. And that
Yes.
should tell us something. Don't get me started. I'm going to shut up. Go
Oh,
ahead.
we have a man in Georgia who's running for lieutenant governor, and he is one of the fake electors.
Oh, wow.
We had a group
Yes.
in Georgia who met and didn't adopted the people who did not win as their slate to send
Yes.
for verification. And this man was one of the fake electors.
Yes. And you know, and I hope he goes to jail.
I hope he does.
I hope
should
he
go to
goes to
jail.
jail. You know, even, and I don't understand how anybody, we lost Dr. Anderson. I'm sure she'll come back. I don't understand how anybody can look at those that are running. For example, the notorious Herschel Walker. Now, to look at him and look at Pastor Warnock, there is, I mean, it's a no-brainer, but yet, and let's be clear, white people chose him because they thought Black folks would be stupid enough to vote for him. Because, and I'm just calling it like it is. I'm calling it like it is. Now, Gail, would you disagree with me?
You are speaking the truth. Yes. Actually, Donald Trump is who reached out to Herschel Walker
Yes.
and got him interested in running for the U.S. Senate. And it has just been a nightmare.
Yes.
And it's just amazing that race is anywhere even close.
It is.
But it is. It's a squeaker. Just this afternoon, I saw a new commercial that Senator Warnock's campaign has just released. And it says it's about Thanksgiving. and this big multi-family is around the table with the turkey there, and they're ready to have their Thanksgiving dinner. And he comes in carrying the sweet potato casserole, and he says, there's a chance that I could be disrupting your Thanksgiving dinner. If this race goes into a runoff, I'll be bugging you at Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So we need you to get out and vote. I
Yes.
love the commercial. I love the way it showcases Senator Warnock's. He has so much empathy and grace in the way that he presents himself.
Yeah.
And then it closes with the lady sitting beside of him saying, "Okay, now can you pass the sweet potatoes?" So we've got to get these people out to vote, and we're trying so hard.
Well,
I think the messaging is, you're making a point there, and Warnock, of course, has decided how to get a message out. The messaging is, as my grandmother would say, it doesn't matter about y'all and all those letters behind your name. If you don't get common sense across to people, it's not going to work. And I think the message right now is that I'm saying, and some of my sisters are saying, the only color that matters right now is green, people.
Mm-hmm.
And the green is the fact that you are getting some of your checks are going to be short. They're talking about reducing your Social Security.
yes.
They're talking about taking away even the big effort that Biden is doing in terms of trying to get student loans.
Yes.
They're trying to take that away and pass the laws to make sure that you are further handicapped. So if you don't want to do anything else, think about the green, people, and make sure you go out. Our children are depending on it. This country needs us to say to people, look, your livelihood, your health is at stake.
Yes.
Whether or not you can go to the grocery store, and you don't have to convince people anymore. They're going to the grocery stores now and seeing how high groceries are and how hard it's going to be for the people who already have problems finding food and finding money to feed themselves. Simply as that. It's all about these people that we think are going to be the ones to represent us. And as soon as they get there, history has shown that they change their minds and decide to go for the elite. We are no longer a democracy, people. We are bordering on oligarchy.
Yes.
Only a select few are running the country and making sure the rich get richer and the poor stay poor.
One
Yes.
of the things, though, we have so many distractions, most of it through technology, where our visions are swayed. Why are we now looking for employees to fill those jobs that somebody is creating when you can't go to a donut shop after 5 o'clock because they don't have an employee to fill that? You have
Yes.
to close the drugstore and you have to close those places. What has happened to our economy, and what is making a mess, I'll say, out of our country, where people don't work, don't know how they're getting their money, drugs are rampant, and all of this goes on in front of us. But voting in the right people to make the right choices in the legislature, whether it's through Congress or state legislature or even locally, studying our candidates, knowing what their background is. We have so many people around here that started out as the R's, but in order to get the votes, because we have more D's, they have switched the party, but their thinking hasn't switched. It's still the same conscience that are taking into their position. So we have to be very careful of who we choose as our leaders.
Yes.
And
know,
that in
I-
itself
I
is,
think-
I'm sorry, that in itself is education. We've got to do a simple flyer, simple handouts, and get them all over the community, particularly in the churches and the schools, if we can.
Yes. And Gail, you were getting ready to say?
Yes, I think the fact that employers are having a difficult time finding people to work is a combination of things. First, we got to recognize we've lost more than 1 million people to COVID. So those people are not coming back to work. And not every one of those were in the workforce, but the great number were. The greater number were working, were employees. And then of the millions of people who've had COVID, and they have the long-term effects, and which is probably keeping a lot of people from being able to work, or at best, they can probably only work part-time. Then we have the issue of women who have historically worked a lot of these low paying minimum wage jobs over the years. They can no longer afford to work these low paying jobs because childcare is now so expensive. So if they don't have a family member to help take care of their children, then that woman is not going to be in the workforce.
Yes.
Let's take a quick minute and also talk about this issue of inflation, because there's people in the country wanting to blame all that on President Joe Biden. And I'm sorry, but this is not President Biden's issue. Congresswoman Katie Porter has a wonderful whiteboard presentation that you can find on YouTube to see that the issue of inflation has been caused by all of these excessive corporate profits.
Yes.
Another way of saying that is corporate greed.
Yes.
That's where the inflation has come from.
We're paying more for gas, but yet their profits have soared through the roof.
Yes.
We're paying more for food, but yet manufacturers are making their profits are again through the roof. And what we need to understand, we can't, well, first of all, if we don't vote in the right way, which is not voting for these insurrectionists that are on the ballot, if we vote for them, if they get in office, the economy is not going to matter. Our health care is not going to matter. Women's rights are not going to matter. Voting rights are not going to matter, because they're going to eliminate all of that. And
No,
so
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it is just imperative that we vote. That's why having this show is so important. I want to almost do it every week before the election. And also let me say that this show is on several platforms. So there may be people that want to say some things, but they're on a platform that we can't see your comments. So come on over to the Vera Thomas Show on Facebook if you have some feedback and comments that you want to make. All right.
Yeah, I was just going to say that one thing that Congressman Clyburn said when he came in our area when the former president was running was that we had to be very conscious of who got that presidency because of the Supreme Court. Look what happened.
Yes.
Look what happened, and look what's happening to the rights that we had for many decades are being peeled away, thrown away by those people who were put in the last 4 years.
Yes.
So who we vote for is extremely important. And President Biden is one of the most sincere politicians that I've ever met. When I was on Akron City Council, we would go to National League of Cities every year, our congressional delegation in March. He had a spot on our program late in the afternoon after everybody was tired, but he stayed with us. He told us about all the little secret things that the Congress would do with the budgets and how they would hide money in certain bylines and then get rid of that byline as soon as they could. So who you put into that White House dribbles down to the rest of us, the impact and the compact of what they do and how they are supported by those in Congress.
Yes. And let's look at the state and local votes, elections as well. Now, we talked about Georgia, but Ohio's got some issues too.
Well, I'm really rooting for Tim Ryan.
Yes.
We need Tim Ryan in the U.S. Senate.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Because his opponent was also a part of the insurrection Was he not? Or did he? I know he supported the falsehood that the vote was rigged. So talk to us a little bit about what's going on in Ohio right now.
It's a nip and tuck. It's a no-brainer, like in Georgia, where Tim Ryan is definitely the better candidate as for senator to represent Ohio. The other person has a very shady, very shaky background, but it's all green. You got to follow the money. And as he got money from others and brought their rhetoric to our state, is unbelievable how people can just hear things and believe without reading, without background checks and all those kinds of things, to let things just go by. And we have some non-readers. We talk about getting the literature and finding out about, we have a lot of illiterate people who only go by what they hear. We have a couple of senior citizen buildings where the older adults, I'm not voting, my vote doesn't count. They've lived with that. They've never voted, and they still carry that same illogic rhetoric with them. But like I said, everywhere you go, you got to vote for something.
And the
Or you
buzzwords are
fall for anything. I'm sorry.
the buzzwords are their Social Security for the senior citizens. We have a senior citizen, 2 or 3 senior citizen complex that we are in all the time. And I just talk to them about the very basic. What's your check look like this month? Do you think you're going to get that same check next month? Who's paying for you to stay here? Is that going to last? You've got people out there who are working against you on that. And here's some people who are working for you. These are the names that you ought to look for when you go to vote. I mean, I know it's a new form of indoctrination. It's a new form of trying to change people's minds, but you just got to go for the basics right now, because it's not the red against the blue the blue against the gray as it was when we had the first Civil War. It's the red against the blue now in terms of ideology and name calling, conservatives and liberals, like there's some kind of bad words and they put on it. And then that's, people here, it's like those 5 senses. I taught kindergarten once in another life. And it's like with those 5 senses, what they hear is one thing, what they see is another one. So you've got to tell them, and you've got to go back. And somebody was saying the other day, Dr. Anderson, you were over there talking to those people, and you were just really speaking their language. I said, honey, I speak 3 or 4 languages. I speak standard English. I speak Black English. I speak ghettoese. What you want me to say today? Just so that we can get the message across. It's just so important.
It is. And the thing is, I'm sorry.
As Renee said, you absolutely have to know who the players are. You got to know the game you're in, and you got to know who the players are. And when you get all the way up to Joe Biden, you've got veto power at the top, but we've got these rascals that we send from our states to sit in the House of Representatives and to sit in the Senate that are derailing the country. And those are the ones that we've got to talk to people about voting against or voting for.
And on top of that, they are not hiding what they want to do.
Nope.
They are being very clear. They've made it very clear. They want to cut Social Security. They want to eliminate or minimize health care. And women's rights are definitely on the line. Nobody should tell a woman how to deal with her body. Nobody. That's whether true. You agree or not with abortion, it is not your job or your responsibility to tell a woman what to do with her body. If we told men to have vasectomies, everybody would be in an uproar.
That's true.
Yeah. But, with the Social Security, they're claiming that they're going to get an 8% raise. Well, the seniors around here are very upset because their rent's going to go up.
Oh.
They don't know whether they want to take that big raise because the rent on 30% of their income is going to increase, and they're living on nothing now.
And,
if my husband and the Social Security that he was receiving, there's no way we could have survived if that's all we had as an income. No way, especially with medication. He was diabetic, he had heart trouble, all kinds of things, that alone. And talking about medical things and dealing with China, we haven't even mentioned them yet. I have a power chair that has not worked since June because I'm still waiting for a chip from China to go in my joystick to make my power chair work.
Wow. Wow. And I
Chip
mean,
from I could have gone over there and gotten it myself by now, you
yeah,
know,
you could have.
but
You know,
I'm
go ahead.
waiting for something that simple. So now they're talking about building these companies in America to make chips. We did chips a long time ago. Diebold down in Canton, Ohio, had a chip factory where they were putting them in voting machines. We had the technology, and those greedy Americans sold us out.
For the
Yeah.
powerful color of green.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And they hide it in the Cayman Islands and used to be Switzerland. But, their children will never be able to spend that greed. And the Koch brothers that were so prominent in supplying money to those other people, one of them is dead now. And where's his money? Who's it going to? So you can't
yeah,
take it with you. But all of the things that they're doing to people as we live this time out in our time, they've got to pay for it.
they're going to pay, but right now we need to make them pay by getting them out of office. And
Right.
I have some commercials I'm supposed to run, and so let me do that right quick. I'm going to run them back to back so that we can come back and have these conversations. So give me a minute.
Hi, my name is Kijano Owens. I am co-founder of Success Express Marketing Solutions. Our business is cultivating more business for your business. I want to tell you real quick about our program that is one of the most comprehensive business development online marketing support programs out there, which is the VASP, VASP, Virtual Assistant Support Program. This system allows you to operate and run your business while we help monitor and help you cultivate more business for your business online. Contact us at 909-686-1698 and visit us online at successexpressmarketing.com. Look forward to helping you take your business to the next level.
Become reality today with Ms. Mac Marketing. 848-236-5026.
If you are a business owner or entrepreneur and you're looking for a way to share your mission, your purpose, your products and services literally with the world, faster, safer, and easier, making your brand accessible to millions from the comfort of your home, well, I want to encourage you to join our Learn How to Start a Podcast and Monetize It class. Why? Is because this was designed for entrepreneurs like yourself as a platform to provide you with the knowledge in order to not only start a podcast as a platform, give the knowledge in order to not only.
And it's still running. Okay, I don't know what was happening with that particular video, but we are going to move on because we don't have a lot of time left. Okay, you know what, I do want you to consider coming back before this election so that we can continue this conversation. Are you willing to do that?
If
Ladies?
Gail is, I am.
Wait a minute. Where are my people? Okay. All right. All right. So are you guys willing to come back? And I mean, we still have 10 minutes, but I just wanted to throw that out there before we end this show, so that we can continue this conversation and, talk about what we need to do to make things happen. And I think that if we come back again before the election, we're getting that message out over and over and over again. And let me say, this show airs on several platforms as a podcast. And so it will be re airing again. And it is also in several countries. So, but this country is what we're most concerned with right now.
Right. Well,
So,
let me take it down a little deeper and we talk about voting because that's what we're talking about. But as a precinct committee person, one of my responsibilities is to get out to the people closest to me and give them information, share it with them about candidates, issues, and things that are going on in our community. But with no telephone books anymore to give you phone numbers, with people with cell phones and no landlines, and nowhere to really get to meet people because of the social distancing and all of the things that come about, it's kind of difficult as a precinct committee person to get to know everybody that you're supposed to impact. Then we have all of the independent voters. How do we approach and deal with the independent voters? Who are they listening to? So as we go through the process of telling people that they have to vote, we also have to know the people that we're speaking to. And we have to learn, we're going to have to change some minds. Going out there and vote, they might say, okay, I've done that. But if we don't know them personally and get a personal relationship, all the work that we do doesn't matter as much.
And
so
that's, I'm sorry, that's where stand comes in. I don't want this broadcast to go off before I mention that. When I came back from West Africa after having been over there for a few years, I came back, and one thing occurred to me. I belong to all kinds of women's organizations, and so do you. So when I came back, I said, okay, we've got the AKAs, we got the Deltas, we got the SEDAs, we've got Women for Progress, we've got, you name it, whatever the women groups are, Parents Campaign, et cetera, and many of us belong to the same things. And those Africans really, really re-educated me in terms of when spider webs unite, they can tie up lions. And so my plea to the mayor was to let me have a meeting at City Hall and see how many women's organizations I could get to come, to be of the like-mindedness and the thought that we could unite ourselves, one common effort at one given time, particularly nurturing those legislatures. We are being rope-a-dope, bamboozled, and hung out to dry with our legislators. They'll put a bill out there, and then down on page 59, line number 235, they'll change the thrust of the bill. And so we decided to organize ourselves. 20 women's groups says, okay, we can do this. We're sisters taking action and nurturing decision makers. We follow certain legislators and certain bills, and we make sure that the people know what's in those bills, and we have them calling day and night during the legislative session to try to get some of those bills changed. And you all know I am in an outpost country called Mississippi.
Yeah.
Thank God for Dave Thompson. But that's what I wanted to put out there about stand, and we can talk about stand forever, but we're united to do some of the singular kinds of things that you go ahead with your mission, AKAs, and you go ahead with your mission, Women for Progress. But our collective mission is to change the legislation and to know what's going on before the bill comes out and is passed.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you about stand. And so I'm glad you brought it up before we got off here. And one of the other things, Mississippi is having some major things. And I know with Jackson, the water was a major issue. Has that been corrected?
They tried to make that another black-white issue. Our governor came out, and of course, he tried to make it a red-blue issue in terms of our mayor and our city council. Part of what has happened is the last 3 mayors have been African Americans, but prior to that, we had 7 people who were Caucasians. Doesn't matter if they didn't do the job, they let the water system fall apart and did not keep it up. All of them are to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Benny Thompson came last night and had a citywide meeting with us, and he has written some letters to the governor and about the federal funds. They're looking into the federal funds that came into the state that were not used appropriately. So there's all kinds of things going on that we're trying to stay on top of. But as for the water, yes, we have water now. My water actually was never affected. I live on the outskirts of the city, but it's the whole 9 yards of where we're trying to go as a collective group of people.
Gail.
Yes, we urge our members to develop good working relationships with their elected officials. Now, they may not support anything that you're in favor of. You may be totally opposite to the things that they pursue. Nevertheless, they work for you. And so we urge our members to keep an open working relationship going with their elected officials so that when you call their office and your name comes up on the caller ID or your name is seen on an email, that they know who you are. And there, even look for times when you can thank your legislator. Maybe they voted the way you wanted them to. So don't let that go unnoticed. Send an email, make a phone call, and thank them for what they did. And by the way, we know that these members of Congress do keep tabs on the calls that they get. It's reported to them. We've been told it's reported to them at the end of the week how many people called, what they called about. And we've also been told that, and this came straight from the lips of a member of Congress, that they have to have 2,000 contacts about one issue before it becomes part of their radar.
Oh my God.
Before it shows up on their radar screen. So I love to urge folks to put together their networks. And you can send one letter that has 2,000 names attached to it, and you've taken care of business right there. So you don't have to have signatures, but you do need addresses, because these folks need to be able to tell that this person who's contacting them lives in their district.
Right.
And I assure you, they take note of that.
And with technology, I know my texts are just bombarded with political announcements. And so I know that they're using technology to try to reach people as well, trying to take advantage of that. And we've got less than 2 minutes left. What I want to say, and I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to share before we leave. I want to thank you for being here. I am honored and privileged that you are here. And I do hope you think about coming back, please, so that we can continue this, because it's so important. And I just want to say to my listening audience, now is the time. We cannot wait for somebody else to do what we need to do ourselves. And I do have someone that said, hi, Darlene, I'm glad you're here. She says, thank you, ladies, for sharing your thoughts and guidance on voting. Well, thank you for chiming in, Darlene. Appreciate it. And let me also say to young people, you can be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. Start, think about becoming a politician yourself. Think about running for office. Think about it, because we need you. All right, I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to share. And we will start with Gail being the president of the Federation, and then Dr. Anderson, and then Mrs. Green, Renee, you're going to close us out.
Well, thank you for including me tonight, and to each person out there. If you have not voted yet, you make sure you take care of business ASAP and call everyone you know and make sure that they have voted too. I've put our website address for the National Federation in the chat. It's nfdw.com is our website. So take a look. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson.
I just want to say particularly to Renee, thank you so much for putting my name out there and considering me somebody that could have a voice here at this table. I want to say to the people who are still listening, if you don't vote, your voice doesn't matter. If your voice isn't heard, you don't matter. Don't let that happen to you, because you're very important to keeping this democracy in action.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, and I appreciate you, Vera, reaching out and putting us all together for this very, very important cause, because the people that don't vote have no hope. And we have a long way to go to make our history, their history, change. They don't want us to know, don't want young people to know what has happened in the past. So let us create a better future for everybody by going out to that polling place and voting on every election. Every election is important. So please vote on every election.
Amen. Amen. I just want to thank my listening audience. And I know that this is going to be replayed over and over and over again. So don't be discouraged by the numbers that you see right now, because it will be played over and over again. And I just want to thank you all for coming. And we will see you all, my audience, we will see you next week. So God bless. And ladies, I'm going to ask you to just stick around for just a minute before you leave, if you don't mind. So thank you all. See you next week.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.